Hey, this is Isaiah from YourHead Software, and I'm going to start off by doing a video about this forum post. This forum post asks a question about the add-ons folder and them trying to organize it, but it keeps having more problems. I don't know the answer to this question, but I know that we're going to need a little bit more information from the user before we can answer it. So with that in mind, I'm going to try to leave this behind and not answer this question immediately. So yeah, I'm just going to put this guy away. And I'm going to give you guys a crash course in what the RapidWeaver Add-Ons folder is. You know, what its purpose is, what all the files inside of it are for, and yeah, show you guys how to manage it on your own if you want to. So here's my add-ons folder. You notice that I keep it right there on my desktop. I mean, obviously you're probably not using RapidWeaver quite as much as I am, but keeping it in an obvious location is a great thing. It solves a lot of problems that might show up. So that's a little tip before we even get going. So this is my add-ons folder. You notice that it's not super complex. There's not a lot of stuff going on in there. I know I've seen a lot of people have, you know, pages and pages of stuff, and not all of it's working. Some of it's for ancient versions of RapidWeaver that they just inherited and they just keep it going. So I want to encourage you to yeah, simplify it and keep it as light as possible. Everything that's in here becomes a part of RapidWeaver as soon as RapidWeaver launches. And when you're running with lots of plugins and lots of other add-ons, snippets and theme styles and whatever, all that stuff is, you know, has a burden on RapidWeaver. So if you want to run RapidWeaver as fast as possible, you know, only use the add-ons that you need. All right. So yeah, I'd like to walk through these things, but I want to walk through them with RapidWeaver open and running too. So see if we can do that. If I put this way over here and then get out my RapidWeaver window. Let's see. Go like that. What if I... No. That is not what I wanted to do. Put that away. No. How about that one? All right. So now we have an add-ons window that you can see over here, and we have RapidWeaver open to a nice empty file, and we're going to see what we can do to see if we can walk through each of these little pieces and see what they all do. All right. I'm going to do, let's see, the stacks bit last, I think. That tends to be the most complicated part. But other than that, let's just walk top to bottom. All right. So bookmarks. The bookmarks database. Yours, if you open up your add-ons folder, it might not say, you know, .db. That depends on your Finder settings. If you have your Finder set to display file extensions, then it'll show that .db. But the bookmarks are sort of hidden inside RapidWeaver. I know when I first saw bookmarks there, I thought, oh wow, bookmarks. That must be like Safari, you know, or Chrome. But it's not quite the same sort of bookmarks. They are places out on the internet, but they're used for one really specific purpose inside of RapidWeaver, which is publishing locations. So if you look in your little publish pop-up here, you'll see a hint manage bookmarks. There's also, I think, in view, manage bookmarks, Command 6. So if we open up that guy, you can see I have 2 bookmarks here. Yeah, I don't think I have anything in this one. But I normally keep, for any project, I'm going to keep usually two different locations. Number one is I'm going to have a location that's local to my hard drive so that I can quickly publish and check stuff before I send it out to the rest of the world. And then I'm going to have a location where I publish everything else. And so you can set these up with bookmarks. I have one set up with bookmarks, my local folder, and that's because I share that between all of my projects. And that's a key here, is everything in this add-ons folder is shared between projects. So yeah, I'll probably harp on that like over and over again, because I mean, that is the whole point of the add-ons folder. Everything else in your RapidWeaver experience, you save inside of a project. And that's fine. But every now and again, there's things that you want to carry from one project to another. And all of that stuff, everything that you want to be, an umbrella over all of your projects, all that stuff goes in the add-ons folder. So in this case, we have bookmarks, and bookmarks are publishing locations. So I'll show you how to use them. If you go inside your publishing locations, publishing setup. So I just have a default location here, but you can say add from bookmarks. And sure enough, there's those 2 bookmarks that I had, and I can set up my normal test publish folder. So it publishes to publish, and then I can get rid of this garbagey one. All right, so that's bookmarks, and your bookmarks database stores that. So if you wanted to take your publishing locations and move it to another computer, you can just grab your bookmarks database, copy it over, and bam, there you go. And if for whatever reason your add-ons folder gets crazy, that's one of the things that not a lot of people use. People don't normally set up too many bookmarks. If you wanted to delete that file and recreate your bookmarks, it probably wouldn't be too tough. All right. Okay, here is the second thing. And okay, I spent a solid 45 minutes before doing this stream trying to figure out what editor themes are. And I know a lot about RapidWeaver. I know some nitty-gritty detail, internal stuff. I've been using it for 15 years now or whatever. I have no idea what editor themes are. So if anybody knows what an editor theme is, please shout it out. Yeah, send me a forum post, send me an email, tweet it, do whatever. I don't know what an editor theme is. I have a hunch, because I know one of the things that RapidWeaver is built upon for its HTML code editor is it actually has inside of it an open source editor called, oh boy, I'm not going to remember the name of it. It means strawberry in some like Finnish or something like that. Anyway, that Frigeria, maybe something like that. Anyway, that editor, that code editor, actually has themes that you can apply to it, and I'm betting editor themes is somehow related to that. But I can't figure out how to create one or how to save one, or for me, this folder is always empty, but it's always there. I really don't know what it's for. So if anybody has anything in there or knows what this is for or how to create one, shout it out. I kind of think nobody does. All right, that's the only thing I don't know though. Okay, let's move on from there. Okay, so plugins disabled. There's actually 3 disabled things. There's plugins disabled, stacks disabled, and themes disabled. So all these disabled things and their enabled counterpart come from the Add-Ons Manager window. So you get to that either by clicking this tab here. It's also in the preferences. You can open up the preferences, and it's just the last tab in the preferences, add-ons. So if you click this button, it goes to the exact same place. Boom. Okay, so the Add-Ons Manager, it shows 3 different things: plugins, themes, and stacks. And yeah, you can resize it, which is good because some people have bajillions of stacks, right? Now, this only shows the very top level stacks. So if you look inside of the stacks folder, you'll only see, you know, those few guys, and they're directly correspond to these. The ones that I have unselected here, let me shrink this down so it's more visible. These guys, those are the things that show up in stacks disabled. There they are. So the 3 disabled things are things that you have disabled in this environment, in this little manager. So I'm going to do one right now. I'm going to uninstall Plist using, so these are the built-ins, and here's Plist and stacks. I wrote stacks. John McLaughlin wrote Plist and kind of handed it off to me, gave me the baton to keep it up. I've given it one big rewrite since then, but yeah, we're not going to use it today, and so that's the whole moral of this add-ons directory cleanup is, yeah, if you're not using it, uninstall it. So I'm going to uncheck it here. Notice when I uncheck it here, it doesn't immediately disappear out of the folder. And the reason is because your add-ons folder, well, you should never move things around while RapidWeaver is running. Because if you do, then you're like yanking stuff out from the guts of RapidWeaver, and it's going to go look for that stuff while it's trying to run, and it's not going to be there. And yeah, bad things happen. So really, when you're moving things around in your add-ons folder, quit RapidWeaver entirely. And yeah. So when I uncheck it here, it doesn't immediately do anything. It's only gonna do something like right before it shuts down, right before RapidWeaver quits. So notice also this little black dot there. I can't make it into an arrow, but there's a black dot in the red circle. And the black dot means the file is dirty. That means something needs to be saved or changed. So that's telling us when we close this window, it's going to do something. So close the window, it says relaunch required. So that's when it's actually going to act and move things around. So as soon as I hit save and relaunch, hopefully Plist will disappear. There it goes. Oh, this is a frustrating bug, and it's actually good that I made it happen. It's not my bug, so I don't care about that. Anyway, notice I had unsaved changes in my document, and so it popped up. Do you want to save changes? But it did that, and it didn't like pause the process of restarting RapidWeaver. So what happened is, look at my dock. Check it out. I have RapidWeaver here and I have RapidWeaver there. It's running RapidWeaver twice at the same time and with two different sets of plugins. That is so awful. Anyway, I'm going to say don't save here. I don't want to save those changes. And I'm not even going to keep this open. I'm just going to, I don't even know what that's going to do. I'm guessing it's just going to crash and burn. So, yeah, if you ever catch yourself, there's a couple places where RapidWeaver needs to restart itself. When you change plugins and when you update RapidWeaver. In both cases, it like reboots itself. And in both cases, there are ways to like pause one and then the other one pops up. And yeah, if you catch yourself in that situation, shut everything down, just, yeah, start over. Okay, so here we go. Starting over. We have PlusKit disabled, and hopefully it should be in this plugins disabled. There it is. There's one more little file in here, built-in plist. That's kind of a weird thing. And the whole point there is, if you go back to the add-ons folder, I don't know if you noticed this, one of the things that you can enable and disable are all of the built-in plugins. And some of these are the old plugins from RapidWeaver 7. And some of them won't be enabled by default. I have them all enabled, but that's just because I need to test all this stuff. So yeah, only enable what you need. That's the moral of the story today. Okay, so yeah, the things that you enable or disable, that setting gets saved in this little file called builtin.plist. So if we uncheck some stuff here, it's going to write it to that builtin.plist. So if you lose that builtin.plist, it's not the end of the world, really. So it's going to enable or disable a few of those things, but you can go turn them back on. It's just the built-in stuff. All right. So we did bookmarks. We really didn't do editor because I have no idea what that does. We did the disabled, and we'll just call it all three done. Snippets. Okay, snippets are fun and easy. You might know about this one. I mean, it's a toolbar. It's a toolbar button. So yeah, snippets. Snippets are pretty easy. You can have HTML or styled text snippets, of course. So let's take a sneak peek at something Stacks 4y. I will get out, well, let's go to this blank page. A text box, and I'm going to edit this text box. So that's new in Stacks 4. If you want to use a snippet, you can drag some text from your snippet over into your text box, and it just goes. And the same goes in reverse. So say if we have something here, and I don't know, let's make it centered and bold, and we can select all, drag that back into the snippets. No, we add a new snippet, rich text snippet, and then we drag it into here. All right, so now we have a new snippet. We can give it a name. Named snip. And now you can use that, and just like I said before, you can use this across multiple projects. That's the name of the game here for the add-ons folder, is the snippets, the bookmarks. These things don't just work in this project, but now that I've made a snippet from that text, I can use those things in every project. And yeah, it's not just saved inside of my project file anymore. it's actually saved inside of your add-ons folder. So this new little snippet that I just created lives right there. All right, I said I'm going to skip over the stack section. We'll do that last because it tends to be a little bit more complicated. Themes is pretty easy. I mean, I'm sure you know this is where the themes go, and themes disabled, that's pretty obvious. You know, those are things, again, that are managed through the Add-Ons Manager. It's the themes. You'll find lots more themes in here because these are all the built-in guys. Well, not that one. Foundation, and I think I have Foundry installed. Those are the two that I have installed. But you know, you can drag a new theme in here, and if you reboot RapidWeaver, and you don't have to manage things through the add-ons manager. You can just drag things in here, restart RapidWeaver, and you're good to go. So this theme styles, this is one that I think a lot of people overlook, and actually I love theme styles. It's a nice little easy feature to use. So if I have, let's see, a theme, I'm using alpha. I know this really boring gray old theme. It's not responsive. It doesn't, but that's the best for testing because I want things that are as simple as possible when I'm running complex tests, because I don't want anything else complicating my setup when something goes wrong. So I use alpha a lot, and if we preview alpha, well, let's put something on the page. Yeah, it's not a very nice page, but let's say make it a little bit wider so this content fits. So I'll bring up the sidebar and choose the theme section. And I'm going to switch back to the other view so that you can see the pop-ups when they happen. Okay, so yeah, right now we're using the master style, which is 700 pixels wide, but that's not wide enough for this content really. So I'm going to uncheck that, and we'll choose something else, like, how about 900? That's a tad better, I guess. Maybe 1,000. All right. And then hide the sidebar, sure. And then we can save this set of theme settings. And you do that by clicking the little gear menu here, and you say Save Custom Style. And we'll say extra wide. And we'll save that. And hopefully that guy lives right here now. Extra wide is part of our add-ons folder now. And just like with the snippets and with the bookmarks, the best thing about theme styles is they live outside your project file. So once I've saved this extra wide, if I open up a new project, I can use that theme style there too. So it's saved just in this add-ons folder. It's not saved as part of your project at all, really. I mean, you apply it to your project, but yeah, it's really part of your add-ons folder. Okay, somebody has a question. It says, don't let me interrupt your current task. Well, I was kind of in between. But going back to your previous tip about disabling page types, will that speed up RapidWeaver? Sorry for the delay. Absolutely. Disabling the built-in ones, not enough to worry about. Just enable all those guys. The built-in ones are really simple, and they've been part of RapidWeaver forever. So, you know, the RapidWeaver API and the built-in plugins are, yeah, they work really well together. But especially with any complex plugins, Collage, Pluskit, Sitemap, if you're not using those things, definitely disable them, uninstall them entirely, drag them away from RapidWeaver, because those things, yeah, they actually inject code into the running app of RapidWeaver. And so even when they're not in use, they actually have changes. Like, let's see, PlusKit, sitemap, and oh, there's one more. I know there is. But there's one more. They inject code and start operating even if you don't add one of those page styles. And that's pretty powerful. I mean, that, you know, if there are bugs in that thing, those bugs are getting injected there too. If they're slowing things down by 5%, then they're slowing things down by 5% whether or not you even add a page. So yes, absolutely. Uninstall things you aren't using. You know, I mean, don't get in the process of dragging things in and out all the time. But yeah, keep it as Spartan as you can, definitely. The more stuff that's in there, the slower RapidWeaver will run. All right, so that's theme styles, and we kind of went over themes and disabled themes. Okay, so we've hit on all of this stuff except for stacks. So let's talk about stacks. First off, I mean, I know it's obvious. There's stacks, and there's a folder called stacks right next to it, and that's where you put your stacks. Sorry for the verbiage. Believe me, I did not name stacks and stacks. I didn't name everything that way. It's just, yeah, everything gravitated that way, and I kind of had to go with the flow. But so we have a folder called stacks, and it's got all these things in it called stacks. And that folder is always right next to the stacks plugin. Always. It has to be. So if you have another folder somewhere else called stacks, then the stacks plugin cannot see that other folder. It can only see stacks that live inside of a folder called capital S stacks that is right next to the stacks plugin. Any other folder is overlooked, is, you know, somewhere else. Okay, so yeah, I mean, for example, I have a temp folder over here that I just drag junk to when you know, I need to put something somewhere, and yeah, it has lots of, like, I have stacks many, so sometimes I keep this guy in here because if it's not named stacks, then it won't be looked in. It won't affect anything. So stacks many, it's just a folder full of stuff. RapidWeaver doesn't care about it. Stacks doesn't care about it. Nobody will look in it. So even though there's, yeah, a lot, how many are in here? Oh boy, 1,572 stacks. That is a lot of stacks. Anyway, so even though I have 1,500 stacks in there, they're not gonna be looked at, and that's a quick way to swap back and forth. I can shut RapidWeaver down. Remember, always shut RapidWeaver down when you're gonna make changes. I can name this stacks simple, and then call my stacks many, call that stacks, and now this is my stacks folder. So the next time I start up, all of these stacks are going to be installed. So let's test it out, see if it worked. Oh, and we can watch and see how much slower it is too, because yeah, 1,500 stacks, that's about as many as there are. And you'll notice that the boot up time is, yeah, considerable. If if the page that we were going to used a lot of those stacks, if it had a lot of complex, that would actually be part of that boot up time would be slower too. And believe me, I work on that boot up time a lot. But we do need to get some information from all of these little files. How much we cache and reading as little as possible those are all really big deals. So we try to do it as fast as possible. But yeah, it is. If you have 1,500 and you're reading 1,500 files, it doesn't really matter how small they are. It takes a little while. Okay. So yeah, that's where the stacks folder is kind of important. Let's put it back to the other one there. I'm gonna rename this stacks mini, and my stack simple here, just call it stacks, and I'm gonna put my mini back in my temp folder. All right, so now we're back to our simple setup here. Nice. And so diving inside of this folder, you can see I just have a few here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 6 yellow stacks here. But check it out how many are actually installed. It's like, I don't know, 100 or so. So what gives? 6 stacks, 100. Let's see what the add-ons manager says. Oh no, those are plugins. Stacks. Okay, well these aren't installed, so it's just these. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So 6 in the add-ons manager, 6 in the folder, 100 in the stacks library. What the hell? Well, the answer is that some stacks are grouped together in sort of a little bundle. And I've put a few in here that I knew would have this property, so it exacerbates that circumstance. So Foundry, for instance, is one of these larger stacks that contains lots of tiny little components. So if I search for Foundry here, it'll just come up with all of the Foundry stacks, plus these alloy stacks, which are designed to work directly with Foundry. But all of these stacks, this through all the ones that look pretty close to each other, all of these guys, these are all contained in this one icon here in the Finder. Now you can pop this open, you can say show package contents, and oh boy, Adam is probably not liking that I showed you how to do that. But anyway, yeah, don't mess with the contents inside of here. But that's where they live. They are inside of there. And that's why there's a discrepancy between this list here and the list inside of your stacks library. Hopefully your stacks library should have more things than are ever in your Finder. And the add-ons manager, it always should agree with the Finder. It should always be exactly the same stuff. But the stuff that you see inside of the stacks library, that's definitely, you're going to see all of those child stacks as well as the parent. So the parent stack is foundry.stack, and I think there should be one here somewhere called Foundry. And so why do they do that though? I mean, is it just to confuse you? No, the answer is it simplifies things. So it means that there's one thing to download after you purchase that stack. So one download, you get 100 stacks. And then when it comes time to update, you update that one stack, and then all 100 of those other things get updated. And if you need to uninstall or reinstall things, then same deal. One thing. So one thing to install, one thing to download, one thing to update, and it manages all 100 of those things all together. Because you wouldn't want to have, like, you know, your header stack be a different version than your column stack, or have to worry about that. That would be insane. So in this way, you update Foundry and it has, well, I think I must have like a debug version, because there's just no way that it has 1337. That's the old leet speak hacker ease. That's a fake version number. Anyway, yeah, you update one thing, it updates everything. It's a good thing. Yeah, with the Foundry stacks, in fact, Joe has 3 stacks. I will find them. That he basically just keeps there just as, like, well, they're the dummy wrappers around things. They don't actually have any purpose. But their purpose is to help you update things. So it says the only purpose of this stack is to show updates. There you go. But it makes updating lots easier because, you know, each one of these updates, you know, a dozen or so stacks underneath it. All right. So that is why there's a discrepancy between all these things. That was sort of a key point in the question that was asked of me. So yeah, I wanted to make sure and touch on that topic in depth. There is one more thing over here though. We have this one last file here, the stacks groups database. So what are stacks groups? So this library here has a lot of stuff on the side here, and this is a little bit different now in Stacks 4. There's some extra items here, some color, but essentially the top button here is everything. That's kind of the one giant list of all the stacks, and the rest of these are different sorts of stack groups. Like, so this one's full of partials. These two are new. It's externals and templates. This is any image that's any images that come built into stacks. So these stacks are a part of the foundation stacks, and you can use them as textures in some of Foundation. Favorites, you can favorite any stack you like, and it's just a quick way to make yeah, if you know you're going to be using this a lot, you just hit the heart button. Now it's favorited, and if you jump over to the favorites, it'll be there. So it's a quick way to, yeah, have a little group of the things that you're using right now. And the star is just the built-in stuff, because yeah, unless you're using Foundation or Foundry, you're probably using the built-in stacks quite a bit, and so it can be nice to have an extra group like that. But that doesn't explain the stacks groups file. The stacks groups file is for anything else, so we can make our own. So for instance, let's do Foundry again. So here's all these Foundry stacks, and we're going to select those. Yeah, and Alloy too. So we'll select all these guys and nothing else. And so you can either do this through this gear menu or no, this gear menu. You can say create new group, or you can control click. You hold down the control key and click, and you get a contextual menu. I like to right click. I'm a 3-button mouse person. I know not everybody is. Oh, I unselected everything. All right, try that again. Here we go. Okay, so right click, add to group, create new group. Boom. Okay, this is all new in Stacks 4. Is more group customization, which is kind of cool. So I will call this the Foundry group. And I don't know, we can give it birthday cake is my favorite one. And we'll make a blue birthday cake. Okay, so now we have a blue birthday cake. In Stacks 3, if you're still using Stacks 3, which you probably are, there's only a handful of people using Stacks 4 right now. Most of them are Stack developers. If you're using Stacks 3, you can make custom groups, but you can't color code them, and they always look like folders. But the point is, you can make a custom group, and now it's just got your Foundry stacks in it. So if you're using Foundry a lot, then you can do this one. I know some people who switch back and forth between Foundry and Foundation, and so it's nice to have one group for each, and then you don't have to worry about, did I drag the right button stack for the right framework into my layout. So yeah, that's a custom group. The custom groups are stored in this custom groups file, Stacks Groups database. And the nice thing about that is that, again, that they're saved outside of your project. So I've created this group in this project, but every project now will have a blue birthday cake. And that's because that group information isn't saved anywhere in this project. It's not part of this project at all. It's saved only in the add-ons folder. So yeah, anything that you want outside of your project gets saved here to the add-ons folder. And with that, I'll show you a cool feature of Stacks 4. We have a new way of saving stuff outside of your project folder. So I can create something. Let's go to our blank page here and make a 3-column stack, and I'll add some stuff to it. And we'll just pretend this is really complex and interesting, even though it's not. Right, there is our complex, interesting stack. And normally I would say, hey, let's make a partial out of this, because then you can reuse it. But a partial you can only reuse within a project. And that's great. You can copy and paste it to another project, but then it sort of becomes another partial. It's completely independent at that point. It has the same content, but if you make a change in one, it's not going to come over to the other one. But just like the Bookmarks database, the Stacks groups, and the Snippets, and the theme styles, there's now a way to save a partial external to your project. And so what did we call it? It's called an external. So if you click the external button, it creates an external, and externals live in your library over here. It's this orange button. And there's the external that I just created. And they nicely live outside of your project in your add-ons folder. There it is. So the nice thing about that is we can make changes to this guy here, and any project that refers to this will soak up those changes the next time it's opened. that information is being saved outside of your project folder, with a little caveat that I put in for safety. So if you lose this file, or if you send this file to somebody else, that's a good example. If you send this file to somebody else and they don't have your add-ons folder, so they don't have your external, well, we just treat it like a partial. So it just becomes, embedded to that project. You don't lose anything. So I like stuff that is, kind of fail-safe. It makes me happy. All right, and templates, they work pretty much exactly the same, but you can't make changes to them. So if you make something that's really great and you never want to change it, you don't want to risk ever changing that content, then you can stuff it in your templates folder and it's fixed in place. And you can't edit it. So, just like any partial, you can go edit an external, but you can't edit a template. It won't edit. All right, so that's enough, I think, about Stacks 4. There's lots more cool stuff in there. I can double click right there now too. See, that edits. Even if there's nothing, even if I don't have one of those. That's kind of cool, right? That's new. So yeah, what did we learn? We learned about all the different parts of the add-ons folder, and that's pretty important. We learned that the add-ons folder is for storing things that are outside of your project. And we learned an important question that, it's J-Bo stick? I don't know. I always see them as two words smashed together. So I'm thinking it's J-Bostic. Maybe? I don't know. Anyway, he asked, oh, that's correct. All right, good. Okay, so he asked, is it good to remove some of the stuff that's in the add-ons folder? And yes is the answer, especially plugins. Plugins are the things that can slow things down and gum things up the most. But the other big one is stacks. Every now and again I do run into somebody who has over 1,000 stacks installed, which is a considerable investment, and I just want to say thank you from me and all of the stack developers for investing and believing in us, because it's a really big deal. You're buying shoes for my kids and helping pay my mortgage, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, aside from that, keeping a clean add-ons folder is essential to the fastest, most sleek version of RapidWeaver that you can get. And if you can remove a few of those old stacks that you're not using, then definitely a few things will improve. I mean, if you're not using them, it's not like it slows down your publishing or anything, but it will, if you remove a few, it will speed up launch time, and it'll speed up file opens. So, that's something. It's not huge, but if you're launching RapidWeaver 3 times a day, that's enough. Could be a few minutes of your day. All right, so we've gone over those things. I just want to go full circle and go back to the original question that we used as a springboard for this whole big deal here. I'm gonna hide these guys. Yeah, I'll hide that too. Excuse me. I'm gonna have a drink of water. All right. So here's the original question. It would appear my Mac /RapidWeaver made a stacks directory within a stacks directory. If I move the stacks to the root stacks directory, it will be visible within the add-on stack interface, but not in the library. Okay, that's like the key sentence right there. And I think what he's implying here is that if he moves things around in one way, then they show up in the add-ons folder. And if he moves things around in the other way, they show up in the stacks library. And if he moves things around too much, it's creating other stacks folders. Well, okay, I have a few comments on that. One is the add-ons folder and the stacks library don't always show the same thing. In fact, they usually won't. The Add-Ons Manager only shows what's in the Finder. It shows those top-level parent stacks that we looked at. So, for instance, we have Foundry here. It's the parent of what, like 30 or so, 40? I really have no idea. But a whole bunch of child stacks underneath it, little teeny bits of the whole system. And Foundry is just sort of the umbrella, the parent of that. All right. Hey, thanks for stopping by. I was just saying goodbye to Jay Bostic, hopefully. So yeah, the add-ons folder and the add-ons manager agree, but the stacks library is going to show all of those child stacks too. So yeah, don't try to get those things to line up, because maybe they never will. They probably won't. Okay, the second thing is, keep in mind that the stacks plugin and the stacks folder always live next to each other. You can't get them apart. If you launch RapidWeaver and open a stacks page and there's no stacks folder there, stacks is just going to create it. It'll be an empty one, but it's going to create it whether you like it or not. All right, so that's like the educational portion of this. I want to give the person who has this problem a couple tools to try to help themselves. Okay, number one is put your add-ons folder in a really simple location. So I've put mine here on the desktop. You don't have to do the desktop if you don't like that. Your home folder is fine. Your documents folder is a good place. But, you know, keep it out of Dropbox and iCloud and Google Drive. You know, those things are complicated, and there's other systems that are, you know, moving things around or copying things or who knows what. You know, if you're running into problems, keep it simple. Put it on your desktop or in your home folder, somewhere where you always can figure it out. And you do that, let's see, we'll bring this guy to the front. You open up your add-ons manager, and down here at the bottom, you say add-ons location, and you choose other. And then you specify a location. I'm not going to do it because it'll mess things up. But, you know, I've specified this location right here, and it shows you the path to that location. If you choose a really complex thing that's too long, you won't be able to read it all. And, you know, that's a drag because, you know, part of choosing a simple location is to try to be able to read the entire thing. So you can verify, is this folder that I am looking into, that I'm cleaning up, is that really the folder that RapidWeaver is currently using? And so that's the second point here. So we're going to try to come at this at two directions, sort of like like when your math teacher tells you to verify your work. So you do your multiplication in one direction and you get an answer. And then you use your answer and you do division to see if you can get back to the original question. So in this case, we're going to set our add-ons location with the Add-Ons Manager so that we can get it in one way. But then we're going to ask RapidWeaver, where is your add-ons folder? In fact, we won't even ask RapidWeaver, we'll directly ask Stacks to do that. And we can do that by going to this gear menu way down here at the bottom. And we choose Show Stacks Library in Finder. And hopefully it should open up that exact same window. And if you want to verify, well, you can look at this bottom bar here. I think that's view, let's see, it's this one. Hide status bar, show status bar. The status bar is that right? No, path bar. Status bar is the very bottom thing. The path bar. So we have to show the path bar, and if you have the path bar shown, then you can see that, okay, there's my home folder, there's desktop, there's the add-ons thing. There's my stacks folder. You can also command click and click on the title. That shows you the whole path too. All right, one last thing. So I showed you one way to, ask Stacks what is the add-ons folder you're currently using right now by doing Show Stacks Library in Finder. But I think I know at least 5 more ways to ask RapidWeaver to open up that folder. So this is live challenge to myself. Let's see if I can do it. Here we go. Number 1. We'll just control click on one of these guys, like that Foundry. Let's type it, Foundry. Okay, and I'll choose Show in Finder. So that opens up that guy. So that's 2. Or I said 5 more. Okay, so that's 1. We can go to the add-ons folder, Add-Ons Manager, and we can say Reveal in Finder. And that opens up the root of the add-ons folder. So that's 2. We can click on one of these guys and say Reveal Stack. And that opens up that exact same thing. So that's 3. All right. We can go to the View menu and choose Reveal Add-ons Folder. That's 4. We can do Command 7. Oh, you have to actually be in RapidWeaver. Command 7. So that's the same as going to that menu. That's sort of a cheat. So that's kind of 5. But there is one more. It's in the RapidWeaver menu. Reveal Add-ons Folder. So that is 6. So yeah, there's lots of ways to ask RapidWeaver which add-ons folder am I using right now. Hopefully they all say the same thing. I mean, they really should. If they don't, boy, file that as a bug, because that's a bad one. But yeah, double check if you're having trouble, like if you're installing add-ons and they just go nowhere. I see this question, 5 times a week or something. People install add-ons, and it's usually that they have multiple versions of RapidWeaver installed. And so the add-ons are going into the RapidWeaver 7 add-ons folder, or maybe they bought RapidWeaver on the App Store and downloaded it, and so it's going to one of those places and not the other. So this is a way to verify that the add-ons folder that you're really using is the same one that you see in the Finder and you are managing. Okay, so with that information and with, you know, those key tips, one, put your add-ons folder in a really obvious location. Two, verify the location of it. And three, do some spring cleaning. Make sure that the only things that are in there are the things that you need, absolutely. And you know, really, if you're running into problems, you know, you can temporarily move some stuff out. Make your add-ons folder look pretty much just like this. If it's got more things than this in it, then, you know, maybe those things are the problem. So drag them out, at least temporarily, restart RapidWeaver, and see where you go. Okay, so with those three things, spring cleaning, put it in a simple location, verify the location. Then open it up, see what's in your stacks folder. If it seems like the wrong things, report back your findings. Report back what is in your add-ons folder. And we'll go from there.